Hey there, lovely soul. Welcome back to Noah Stories. Today's tale is one of heartbreak, unexpected encounters, and the kind of love that finds you when you least expect it. So settle in, take a deep breath, and let's journey together to Coral Bay, where everything changed for Lena Brooks. Lena Brooks curled up by the airplane window, her eyes fixed on the gray clouds below. Her heart still ached, raw and heavy. Less than 3 weeks ago, she had called off her engagement to the man she thought she'd spend forever with. But instead, he betrayed her. With her best friend. And the worst part? They did it on the very bed Lena had carefully chosen, every sheet, every pillow. Dreaming of their wedding night, her hopes for a future together shattered in that cruel moment. Not from a lack of love, but from a betrayal too brutal to forgive. As a fashion magazine editor in Chicago, Lena was used to having everything under control, her appearance, her career, her path forward, but this pain was something she couldn't manage. So she booked a flight to Coral Bay, a quiet resort in Florida, hoping to wash the sorrow away and begin again. What Lena didn't know was that this vacation would be anything but peaceful, because fate had already set a course she couldn't avoid, one that involved a stranger, a mistake, and a meeting that could change everything. Lena Brooks wheeled her deep red suitcase into Coral Bay Resort, her heels clicking in rhythm against the polished stone floor. She was drained after the long flight from Chicago to Florida. The weight of recent betrayals pressed heavily on her heart, and all she wanted was to collapse onto a bed and forget the world for a while. At the front desk, her eyes landed on a man leaning casually against the counter, eyes glued to his phone. Baggy white t-shirt, palm leaf print shorts, tousled beach hair. He looked like a lazy tourist here for beers and sun, not someone to take seriously. Assuming he was a bellhop, Lena walked up and asked him to bring her suitcase to room 207. The man raised an eyebrow, offered a lazy half smile, and replied in a rough, sleep-heavy voice, "I don't work here, but if you want, $5 a bag." She glared at him, convinced he was messing with her. Just as tension flared, a real hotel staff member arrived, breaking the awkward exchange. Lena checked in, ignoring the lingering smirk she could feel behind her back. When she reached room 207 and opened the door, she froze. A laptop sat open on the desk, flip-flops by the door, and a faint trace of men's cologne in the air. Before she could process, the bathroom door swung open, and out stepped the lazy tourist from the lobby. "This is my room," they both snapped in unison. After a heated back and forth, Lena called the front desk. The receptionist apologized profusely. A booking system glitch had double-booked room 207.7. Worse, the resort was full due to a large conference. The only solution? Lena and the man now introduced as Nico Reyes would have to share the hotel room for the night. "You sleep on the couch," Lena snapped. "As long as you don't snore too loud," Nico replied, his smirk as annoying as ever. Less than an hour into her stay at Coral Bay Resort, Lena was already reconsidering the whole trip. The hotel room she'd been forced to share with Nico, the beach bum guy in palm shorts, had quickly turned into a war zone. She had just finished her shower and slipped into bed when EDM music erupted from his phone, echoing through the small space. No headphones, no warning. She burst out of the bedroom, hair still damp, voice trembling with anger. "Do you think this is a club?" Nico was sprawled out on the tiny sofa by the window, casually tapping to the beat. "Didn't think you'd wake up. My bad." "Turn it off. I didn't come here for a 3 a.m. rave." "Should have packed earplugs," he said without even glancing up. But it didn't stop there. Minutes later, a hotel staff member knocked and delivered a tray of food. Grilled lobster, buttery scallops, and a bottle of wine. Lena looked from the tray to Nico. "You ordered this?" "Sure did. Thought since we're sharing the room, maybe we could share dinner too." "I'm allergic to shellfish," she nearly yelled. Without another word, Lena unzipped her suitcase, pulled out a roll of tape, and marched to the center of the room. She drew a thick line across the floor. "Boundary line. Left side is mine, right side is yours. No crossing." Nico leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees, eyeing the tape like it was part of some theater act. "Great. Just make sure you put one on the bed too. Pretty sure that queen-size mattress sits right on the border." Lena sighed, It was going to be a long night. After a nearly sleepless night filled with the endless clatter of Nico's keyboard, Lena awoke the next morning with a heavy head. Seeking solace, she decided to hit the pool to clear her mind. Slipping into an emerald green swimsuit, she glided into the cool water, hoping the chill would wash away her frustration. She'd only swum a few laps when a sharp pain shot through her right calf. A cramp. Panic set in. She thrashed, struggling to stay afloat. "Help!" Her voice cracked, barely above the surface. From a lounge chair nearby, Nico, who'd been browsing photos on his camera, bolted up and dove in without hesitation. Within seconds, his arms wrapped around her waist, pulling her safely to the surface and guiding her to the edge. "Relax. I've got you," he said, his voice low but firm. Lena gasped for breath, her cheeks flushed, part fear, part embarrassment. Seated on the edge of the pool, Nico knelt beside her, gently massaging her calf. "Cramp? Usually from dehydration or stress, you seem stressed a lot." "Thanks," she muttered, avoiding his eyes. That afternoon, the resort assigned them to a mandatory compensation activity, tandem kayaking. Neither looked thrilled, but refusing wasn't an option. The small kayak rocked as they climbed in. At first, their paddles clashed. The boat spun in awkward circles while other pairs glided past with ease. Lena scowled. Nico exhaled in frustration. But slowly, they found a rhythm. She matched his strokes. He adjusted to her pace. When they finally reached the shoreline, both were winded and laughing. "Not bad," Nico said, wiping sweat from his brow. "You've got sailor potential." "You're not as useless as I thought," Lena replied, a smirk playing on her lips. It was the first time they looked at each other without the filter of annoyance or assumption. Just two people, slowly seeing more than what met the eye. That morning, while Nico was downstairs grabbing coffee, Lena stayed behind to tidy up the small workspace. As she moved his jacket from the chair, a worn leather wallet slipped out. She bent down, picked it up, and noticed a small photo sticking out from the barely closed seam. The photo was old, its edges yellowed. In it, Nico looked younger, standing beside a blonde woman with a brilliant smile. Lena froze. That face was all too familiar. Maya Harper, her cousin. She flipped the photo over, scrawled in faded ink, "Nico and Maya, summer 18. Lena's heart pounded. Maya had once spoken vaguely of an old flame, a passionate love story with a photographer she eventually left for someone more ambitious. She never mentioned a name, just called it ancient history. But now the picture was painfully clear. When Nico returned, coffees in hand, he stopped dead at the sight of Lena holding the photo. Her eyes were cold. "You used to date Maya Harper," she said, voice sharp as a blade. "And you knew I was related to her from the start, didn't you?" Nico furrowed his brow, clearly confused. "I didn't know. I didn't recognize the connection at all." Lena tossed the photo onto the desk. "I don't believe you. You came here, got close to me, pretended it was coincidence. This was all about revenge, wasn't it?" "Lena, that's not what this is." "Don't say my name," she snapped, her voice shaking. "I feel like a pawn in whatever game you're playing. You lied to me." Nico stepped forward, a flicker of desperation in his eyes, but Lena backed away, bitterness rising like a wave inside her. "You're just like the rest, just another person who saw me as something to use." The air in the hotel room was thick, charged. One more word and it would all go up in flames. "You think I'm stupid?" Lena's voice shook with fury. "You approached me, acted like it was fate, like we just happened to cross paths. But it was all a setup, a way to get back at Maya, wasn't it?" Nico stood still, the warmth of the coffee in his hand fading, much like the hope in his eyes. "I didn't know you were related to her. I swear, Lena, I didn't come here because of her, and definitely not for revenge." "Then why didn't you say something when you realized?" she snapped. "Why keep it quiet? Was it fun gaining my trust just to crush it?" "I wasn't quiet because I had bad intentions. I just didn't want to ruin what was starting to feel real." "There's nothing left to ruin." Lena turned, grabbed her suitcase. She slammed it shut, dragging it toward the door without a glance back. Nico followed. Lena, don't leave like this, please. Whatever this was, it was real. She paused just for a moment, then kept walking. Even if it was real, it's over now, she said without turning around. I can't trust you, and I won't let myself get hurt again. The door clicked shut behind her with finality. Nico stood there, motionless, like something inside him had just broken. After leaving Coral Bay, Lena returned to Chicago in silence. She didn't tell anyone what had happened. She didn't mention Nico, and she certainly didn't want to unpack the storm of emotions still circling inside her. Back at the office, she dove into her work like it was a lifeline. Back-to-back meetings, endless drafts, looming deadlines. She became the version of herself everyone expected, focused, composed, untouchable. The professional Lena who didn't have time for feelings. But as night enveloped her apartment, the facade of strength crumbled, revealing the raw wounds of her heart. In the stillness of her apartment, when the screens dimmed and her inbox went quiet, memories rushed back. Nico's quiet voice, the way he looked at her when he thought she wasn't paying attention, the moment he lifted her from the pool like she was the only thing that mattered. It haunted her. One Friday night, flipping through TV channels absent-mindedly, Lena paused when a familiar face appeared, Nico Reyes. Wearing a sharp suit, his hair neatly combed, he was being interviewed on a business network, speaking about his journey as a lead photographer for a global campaign. But at the end of the interview, the host asked a surprise question. If you could name your biggest regret, what would it be? Nico went silent for a moment. Then he answered, his voice low, steady, real. Sometimes you meet someone who makes you want to stay, but you let them go because you're scared, because you misunderstand. I did that, and I don't know if I'll ever get the chance to make it right. Lena froze. Her heart tightened like a fist inside her chest. The next morning, Dylan, her longtime colleague and steady friend, stopped by her office. He handed her a cup of coffee and sat across from her, watching her carefully. "You're still not okay, are you?" he asked softly. She didn't answer. "I know you've been hurt, but I need to say this. I like you, Lena, not just as a friend or a coworker. I've felt this for a while, and if you'd let me, I'd like to build something steady with you." She looked at him, kind, reliable, safe. But her heart didn't move. "Dylan," she said gently, "you're everything I should want, but I let someone walk away, and I can't stop thinking about him." The morning after watching Nico's interview, Lena booked a flight to San Francisco, his city, his home base, the place she now needed to be. She couldn't wait any longer. For the first time in weeks, things felt clear. She needed to see him, not to demand answers, not to argue, just to tell him she believed him, that she didn't want to miss their chance again. As her plane landed at SFO, Lena raced through the airport and into a taxi bound for the creative studio, where Nico worked, a photography firm he co-owned. Her heart thudded in her chest as she approached the front desk. "Hi, I'm Lena Brooks. I need to see Nico Reyes." The receptionist tapped a few keys, then looked up, surprised. "He's not in today. Actually, he flew to New York this morning, said he had to meet someone urgently." Lena's breath caught. "He flew to New York?" The woman nodded, smiling gently. "He mentioned someone named Lena." Her pulse roared. They were chasing each other across the country again. Without thinking, she jumped back into a cab, rerouted to the airport, and booked the next flight to New York. During the flight, she didn't sleep. She just held her phone tight, praying this wasn't too late. Lena landed at JFK on a cloudy afternoon. Instead of taking a taxi home, she rolled her suitcase straight to Riverside Park, the place she once told Nico about. "Whenever the world feels too heavy, I come here," she had said. "I don't know why, but it always calms me down." Her suitcase clattered over uneven pavement. No one paid her any attention. A woman in a long coat gripping the handle like she was holding herself together. She wasn't sure why she came here first. She just knew her heart told her that if there was any place Nico might go, it would be here. In a city as enormous as New York, that idea felt foolish. But feelings, especially love, rarely followed logic. She sat down on a familiar bench, facing the river. The breeze carried the bite of early winter. Lena clutched a cup of coffee she'd picked up from a corner cart, her heart trembling with both hope and doubt. At the same time, Nico stood in front of her apartment, quiet and empty. He knocked, called her name, but there was no answer, no lights, no sign of her. He stepped back, discouraged. Then a memory came back to him, Lena telling him about the park. Without hesitation, he hailed a taxi and headed straight to Riverside Park. When he arrived, he walked along the winding path, eyes scanning every bench. And then he saw her. Lena, her suitcase beside her, hair tousled by the wind, eyes staring out over the water. He moved closer, quietly, but Lena looked up, as if she had known all along. "I thought if there was one place you'd go, it'd be here," she said, with a small smile. "And you were right," Nico replied, stepping toward her. Lena stood up. For a moment they said nothing, just stood there, letting the world slow down around them. "I'm sorry," she said first. "I let the past and my fear cloud everything. But I know now. You never meant to hurt me." "I was wrong too," Nico said. "I should have told you sooner. But I'm here because I can't lose you again." In that quiet, wind-blown park, they embraced. No dramatic words, just forgiveness and a silent promise. They wouldn't miss each other again. 1 year later, Lena Brooks and Nico Reyes returned to Coral Bay, the place where everything began, the chaos, the misunderstandings, and the love. This time, they didn't arrive with baggage or heartache, but with a simple white dress, a light-colored suit, and peaceful smiles. They held a small beach wedding, just a handful of close friends and family. The ocean breeze was gentle, waves rolled in calmly, soft sand beneath their feet. Maya wasn't there. Both Lena and Nico had agreed. The past should stay in the past, no longer casting a shadow over the present. Matt, Nico's longtime friend, stood proudly as best man. A few of Lena's former colleagues smiled brightly as the couple exchanged vows under the golden sunset. "I never thought it would all lead here," Lena whispered as they stood hand in hand. "I always believed it would," Nico replied, squeezing her hand gently. And on that very beach, where the tides had once mirrored their tumultuous journey, now lay the gentle whispers of a love reborn, awaiting the stories the future tides would tell.